With the ultimate conclusion of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and the grand inclusion of Sora finally in Smash, it felt like the Kingdom Hearts series was given validation for finally being recognized as a giant series adored by millions, and seeing my favorite series grow into this huge community makes me incredibly proud for picking up this game early in my childhood and sticking with it for so many years. And this year alone, we had the Kingdom Hearts series ported into PC and now the Nintendo Switch in the cloud version, but still accessible in some way. And let's not forget that the 20th anniversary of the series is coming soon next year. I can only imagine the franchise getting bigger, especially with Sora in Smash. So I want to share something that Kingdom Hearts always captures me and other newcomers that is less painful than the plot. The music. More specifically, the character theme songs. It's insane enough that Kingdom Hearts music was actually played at a Nintendo event. And this exchange of Yoko Shimomura and Sakurai is just so wholesome. If you don't know already, Yoko Shimomura is the composer for the music in Kingdom Hearts. Although future installments had songs that were arranged and remixed by the other folks at the sound team, Shimomura created the basis for the distinct Kingdom Hearts soundtracks. Battle themes and world themes changes throughout the series, but there is a set of theme songs that stays throughout all the games, and that is character themes. Yoko Shimomura is recognized through many different video games with the iconic melodies that have sustained through the years. One of the most influential composers that set the stage in orchestrating video game music. And to create great music requires a multitude of unique ways to portray a story within it. It's easy to recognize a composer's type of music on other mediums to a common listener, and Yoko Shimomura is no less the same. Her music can interchangeably work on other games that have music that she also composed, and it will feel similar until you see the gap between its setting and its music. Compare this with the different Kingdom Hearts world field themes. She's worked on multiple projects besides the Kingdom Hearts series, which are equally remarkable, and it doesn't help that searching on Google for songs Yoko Shimomura had done highlights out mostly the Kingdom Hearts tracks, and I think her other works get very underappreciated. So let's talk about Kingdom Hearts character themes. Themes are not a new topic that are being discussed nowadays, but it cross-references mainly through movies and broadly hinges on environment themes. They don't always have character themes, and if they do, it's most probably narrowed to one protagonist or antagonist. Video games help create that space for character themes to be used more often when a character enters battle sequences or makes a dramatic entrance. It's used as motifs that are modified to amplify a cutscene when they're on screen. Kingdom Hearts has my favorite fictional personalities in the world of storytelling, and to think it doesn't have to do with the soundtracks is quite an understatement. So I decided to rank my favorite character themes of the Guardians of Light after Kingdom Hearts 3, which will be focused upon the characters' personalities to connect with their theme songs, which will not coherently link with rankings of personal favorite characters, even though all of them are my favorite. Oh, and we're excluding Saix since he still doesn't have his own theme yet.
I was jealous.
These are all my opinions. There's definitely your nostalgia factor and your own taste in music, but in my view, character themes should have a distinctive tune to them that separates it from other soundtracks from the game. And you'd think that the biggest protagonist finally making it into Smash would have the greatest soundtrack to back their relevance to the game. Well, now let me say this, even though Sora's theme song still speaks perfectly about his character, the other contenders on the list are just a little more
uber powerful.
This song can feel like an ordinary overworld theme with its jingle that Chip and Dale seems to really dig to make it the ringtone.
What's this?
Might as well call this the Gummy Phone theme. Sora's theme song just doesn't have that depth of melody to really make me feel like
It's Sora!
His song plays at the beginning of the games that encapsulates the feeling of going into a new adventure, and Sora himself is that personality. He wants to find new adventures, eager to explore the world outside without ever returning back to his house.
Sora!
The emotions of this song feels very much like the Hand in Hand soundtrack, which suitably enough is his victory song when he wins in Smash. A subtle similarity that matches Sora's liveliness whenever he's around others, as if there aren't any worries when he is around. He doesn't have the soft monotonous dialogue like what all the other characters usually do. Even in times of desperation, he still acts very cheerful. The slight changes in arrangement within the Saix Fight in KH3 and the San Fran Sokyo scene makes me like it a little more when it's modified with other instrumentation. For theme songs, it's effective if you can hear the melody of the song throughout its runtime to see the character from the music standpoint. But his theme song drags noises up a lot with the other melodies blended together, which isn't always a pleasant taste for a top tier song. It doesn't make it feel as if it belongs solely to Sora, and I get that it helps to accentuate that adventurous feeling. There really isn't much to go after this other than an overall good song with a great connection, but I wouldn't see myself putting it on repeat for more than 8 minutes. Namine has for herself a theme of memories and tranquility. Why wouldn't you want to hear this in an empty, white room? But I have to rank it lower than Kairi because it has that impression like Sora's theme song, sounding like a field theme of a world of some sorts. And seeing her in this void white place might have made me associate the theme to that room more than her, and that's a fine association for she also wears white clothes, but it doesn't capture as much of her personality. Sure, she's the nobody of Kairi, but there isn't a big gap of characteristics between them like what Sora and Roxas had.
You and Kairi smell the same.
We got to see much of her screen time on Chain of Memories, but the soundtrack keeps playing the same ambience theme. Her theme song sure fits Namine and resonates a lot with Kairi's theme, and it has its beautiful melodies that reminds me a lot of Twilight Town, and I think the way the music goes from the high tones to low tones evokes how there are good and bad memories since she is centered around memories, also resembling a dark and light side of her when manipulating memories. And speaking about the melodies of memory, character themes that were developed way early in the series could come into the problem that the paths the characters go through now wouldn't really fit them as they grow. Kairi's theme song captures the innocent side of things, when all she could do for Sora and Riku to come back home is to just wait and go to school, something that the boys doesn't do. Even the KH2 box art literally shows her using her school uniform. But the melody still strikes a comforting emotion as if Kairi's presence lowers down the stress of situations. And I believe you can see it in Remind, when Sora finally reunites with Kairi. He didn't shout in anger when he suddenly arrives. He just calmly tells Kairi to get ready. Probably why this theme, even if it wasn't played on screen, is amazing once you look back on it and observe how Kairi's personality affects the other characters. Just picture this song being played in any place where the sun sets. The scene from the Secret Forest with Axel and Kairi can really use Kairi's theme as their soundtrack. But the new arrangement of Eternal Moments from BBS is not a bad pick either, which is criminally underrated. Now that she is going to train with Aqua and take this new adventure for herself, I want to see how her theme may be remixed to better fit her new character and persona, just like how Aqua's theme is modified for the anti-Aqua battle sequence. Melody of Memory had a chance to do some sorts with her music, but I guess her character hasn't reached that tipping point yet. It's a great theme song. I'd rank it higher if you see more development after Melody of Memory. Now I don't know if the 13th struggle is definitively Axel's theme, since remixed versions of it were used in the bells of Luxine and Luxor, but I'm going to give it to Axel since he's the one who started with the soundtrack. I've tried to search the meaning of the 13th struggle and 13th dilemma on the internet, and I can't find the reason why it's named that. The 13th struggle is a theme that KH2 players might easily feel a disturbance around them, because I am certain you'd visualize the fired up floors, the walls, and this song has everything that Axel's powers resemble. The violin creates that vicious tension, feeling that you're in a microwave just trying to have a normal battle. The fact that his battlefield in the boss fight is one of the smallest in the game and it hurts you definitely enhances the introduction of this theme. Although his personality wasn't always highlighted in 358 over 2 days, not to say he wasn't well developed, but in KH2, Dreamed Out Distance, and KH3, he finally gained that spotlight that tells more about his personality when he became the only one from the trio to live on. He was on the fence whether he should help the organization or to cherish his one friend that he can remember, until going rogue and dashing the organization's plan, which boosted his personality into the S tiers of characters. His theme song really highlighted the eccentric and sympathetic side of him, transitioning from different instruments between the violin melody and the piano melody, and I'd say that the piano melody very much reminded me of the organization theme since they have a lot of piano, which correlates to me the side of Axel when he cooperated with the organization, and then the violin melody indicating his betrayal towards them. A very neat resemblance in my mind. Even if you ignore the Ventus of Union Cross, his theme ideally fits his character just by birth by sleep alone, and more if you count Union Cross. Ventus comes around to be like a lost boy, trying to find meaning around him and to learn from others, and ultimately paying a heavy price to help his friends, and that is just too meta for that to also happen with Sora in Remine. Sleeping is a common theme with Ventus if you hadn't known, because you probably live in the realm of darkness, and the music just creates the feels of a serene but very deep ambience, which makes its association stronger than Sora's theme. Very minimal instruments were used that created that depth while sticking to like one melody. Even as the song progressed, amplifying the other instruments helped make the song not feel repetitive. Ventus is that melancholy character, knowing what's best for his friends and literally contemplating that his friends should end his life. And of course his theme plays at that part.
Put an end to me.
Everyone's favorite waifu, except mine, highly attributed to her leadership in saving Terra and Ventus. She is the character in the series that had the heaviest burden and tragedy to even handle for a newly appointed Keyblade Master. Her theme song is one of the most sorrowful songs in my opinion, which resembles how in her mind she thinks she might have failed as a master, not being able to wake Ventus up for a decade, and her absence in the realm of light when the worlds were in peril. Having gained masterhood from Arcus, she probably wanted to be the guiding light for Terra and Ventus while keeping them from harm's way. Even in her protectiveness, she was selfless in saying that Terra is capable of being stronger with the capabilities of being a master, even if Arcus wouldn't give him validation. And the Ultimania did indicate that Terra was a Keyblade Master even if he's not named to be, for he was able to bequeath his Keyblade to Riku. So maybe Aqua should be the one appointing masterhood from now on. Her theme song thoroughly describes her journey of how unstable her guidance might have been, and how her friends never won the heart of the person who named her master, as he tried to kill both of them. Aqua really would have felt worthless after the situation in Birth by Sleep, and you'd easily understand her theme song. I particularly love the remix version during Anti-Aqua's battle, with its slowed down and distant vocals. Just the atmosphere of it and the instrumentation of music is what makes her theme incredibly sustainable in a lot of situations. From master to another master, Riku's path was to set things right for the consequences that faced Sora and the other people caught up in it. When going incognito, Riku gives that mysterious atmosphere of his character as he observes Sora and schemes his way to infiltrate the organization. This song screams the way to dawn. That road in Chain of Memories is all I can remember instantaneously when I hear it. Riku wanted redemption for previously putting Sora's life on the line, and even went to the enormous extent to change his entire appearance just to awaken him. Especially in 358 or 2 days, when he became a badass, intimidating to be. How can you top that? Something that feels unique is that the team doesn't feel like a battle team or a very sorrowful team, which reflects on his character to connect with others through his own experiences and his mistakes without the need to fight. Consulting Shion about making her biggest decision, confronting Anti-Aqua with his experience in the realm of darkness. He knows that constantly fighting will not achieve the best of situations, but to communicate carefully, knowing everyone can be redeemed. A person who can walk in between and find the point of inflection in other characters. I adore his theme song and his story, and it can really fit in the Final Fantasy aspect of music now that he's in Quadratum. The man who was able to rewrite his mistakes, strong enough to come out on top of two masters, have an absurdly strong will to possess his armor and wreck your ass, a feature that only exists for him in the entirety of the series. Okay, Terra is easily one of my favorite characters, much due to his portrayal as the lingering will and his theme song. Rage Awakened could be considered as his theme song, but I prefer to just stick to his main theme where it covers other aspects other than Rage. Out of all the other Guardians, his theme song has the shortest melody, which just as easily captures his full story. And I'd say because of that short melody, it makes me love to loop his song while it doesn't feel sluggish or unspirited even after some time. Terra's part of the story was the major part of Birth by Sleep. Why the trio even ventured to other worlds was particularly because of him, and to fix some of his mistakes. Sure, him being the medium for the errors would point him as his fault, but he did rewrite them after one manipulation by Maleficent, which he did in all the other worlds he went to, and he didn't do much wrongdoings at all. Writing his character the way of being in the bad light, for him to later on realize what he's done and fix his faults, actually makes his theme song more meaningful and his character being my favorite in the series. Master Arcus turning down Terra ignited his motivation to find his own destiny, a way to know for himself he was capable, which eventually turned into fighting his own master to protect his friends, but he was willing to defy his master's teaching that darkness is evil, unlike his superior, to use the power of darkness for the sake of his friends. Definitely really love how he has the only theme song to be very upbeat out of the Wayfinder trio, which separates him uniquely as a character. I like that his theme starts off with a very energetic melody with something to seek, and transitioning into a theme to set things right, which is a similar melody to Fate of the Unknown, probably the most iconic song in the series. Who could ever forget one of the saddest moments to exist in the series? Shion's theme is just too recognizable once your eyes feel heavy. What Yoko Shimomura and the sound team had done that sold me to listen to Shion's theme song anytime is that there are multiple versions of it executed carefully. You can get your Twilight Town overlooking, sea salt melting, Shion disintegrating, sad version, or the battle adrenaline because those light beams be chasing you, stealing your health just like we stole hers. Her story is just existential crisis on a different level, being consulted by Riku that she is to be erased in order to restore Sora, informing her about her inevitable erasure. Meanwhile, since Roxas didn't know about all this, it wouldn't have damaged his mind as much as Shion's when thinking about how their lives were never meant to be and more so erased soon. This 358 over 2 days scenario is what complemented Shion's theme, dealing with very difficult choices. And I'd add that her theme song also gives a sense of exhaustion, wanting to finish doing the long jobs, looking forward to eat ice cream and being with her friends. Her theme song represents the trio in the time of 358 over 2 days very deeply as a whole, and can probably replace the At Dusk I Will Think of You soundtrack. And with different remixes, that theme will chime very nicely for any cutscene that she's in. In a way, Roxas relates a lot with Shion, with versions of a melancholy theme and that iconic battle theme in Kingdom Hearts 2. His character arc is without argument one of the best in the series, and just to contrast that to Sora's optimism, he had gone through that emotional downturn and being deceived in a data world just to end his existence courageously. His theme song told the story of his experience with the intro to his melody that immediately evokes a certain emotion about his character. And in Kingdom Hearts 3's Saix battle, his melody can easily, just as Shion's, be more upbeat than it already is in KH2. A brilliant remix in portraying his return and getting what he wanted, to be his own person. His original, more sad theme perfectly describes his story in 358 over 2 days, when he nods more about his thoughts and existence than his job or friends sometimes. The piano brings out the perfect mood about his personality, the struggles and conundrums he went through. If anyone wants to get a first impression of music to get into the series, the other promise is the soundtrack to sell it. It just describes a deeper story than just being a game of a Final Fantasy Disney crossover. I'd even say the movie of 358 or 2 days just sums up what Kingdom Hearts really is. Just why 2 of the Days trio theme songs is in the God tiers. There really isn't a theme song I dislike of the Guardians of Light. All of it tells the story as what was shown on screen. Not all the Seekers of Darkness have their own personal theme songs, as it may drag the whole building up a unique persona too long for a game already going for 20 years. Maybe give Luxine that treatment since Marusha already has Lord of the Castle. And after listening to all the Guardians of Light theme, I think there's one theme that rivals all of them. 3 meter, yeah, get your skateboard and hot tub, absolutely nothing sad.